Longevity in ministry. It's tough. Next on the Metal Pulpit. Thanks for joining me for another Metal Pulpit. Yeah, longevity in ministry. This Sunday, August 5th, 2018, marks my 13th year as the pastor of a little church in a smaller city in central Wisconsin called Radiant Fellowship. Now, I look at that and I think that's pretty cool, 13 years as the pastor here, and it's going well. It really is going well. But anybody that's been in ministry for any amount of time knows that there are tough times that happen during ministry. Oh, it may be because of something you did, it might be because of something somebody else did, or it might be something that nobody did, but a rumor spread. And I reflect back each year at this time on my time as a pastor. Let me share a few thoughts with you. I never applied to be a pastor. Never did. I got my credentials through an affiliation through the Assemblies of God, and I still carry my credentials with them to this day for 22 years now. But I never once applied for a position anywhere. The first position that I got was in my hometown of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I was DJing a Christian skate night every Friday night from 9 till midnight. I would DJ this thing. We'd have 300 to 400 kids show up, and there was a pastor that just got a church, and he would bring his kids over, and eventually we ended up talking. And he said, "So Bob, what are you doing? Apparently you can work well with teens and stuff, and we need a youth pastor. What's up?" So we started talking a little bit, and he offered me a position at their church. It was free. I didn't get paid for any of it, but in a matter of a couple of years, the pay went from part-time then to a modest full-time, and I ended up staying there for 8 years as their youth pastor. I started when I was 22 years old, and I left when I was 30 years old. It was good. It was really good. The youth group started with about 8 or 9 kids, and it grew to about 80 kids in a church of 80 people. And so things went really well up until a point, and that's when things went south. Somewhere along the way, the church lost its vision, it lost its way, and wanted to become a bigger church than what it was, and took 80-some people into a $1.5 million mortgage. And, well, you can imagine how much of a stress every message, every Sunday was about giving and how important it was. And ultimately, the pastor ended up having some moral failings, and there's other words for that, but we'll leave it at that. And the board took it as their opportunity to get rid of me because they felt, in their words, I was starting my own church, and I wasn't. I would be thrilled today if I had a youth pastor that would grow a youth ministry to the size of size of our church. Now, you fast forward a little bit, and so he ended up leaving. I ended up resigning upon the advice of a good pastor friend that was helping this church through a difficult time. And I took a position in Waupaca, Wisconsin, about 2 hours north of Milwaukee, hour west of the Green Bay Packers. And took that position. I was asked to do that. It was started up by a higher up in this fellowship, this denomination. And they said, "We would love to have you." I didn't apply. I had 3 other offers on the table, and I'm like, this seems really cool. And so we took it, and quite honestly, it was good. A lot of freedom. It was good. But a year and a half into it, that pastor got caught in a prostitution sting operation, and ultimately, it was one of those situations where, I was asked, "Do you want to take it and run with it, or don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And so it was handed over to me, August of 2005. It was given to me, and I was raised in a very stable church. My wife was raised in a very stable church where bringing on a new pastor was big. Bringing on a new pastor was exciting. Yearly anniversaries were awesome. And that Sunday, there were 8 people, and in the words of the person that hired me, said, "Here's 8 people and a mortgage." There was nothing. There was no celebration. There was nothing going on there. I remember my wife and I, we went out. This was before kids. My wife and I went out to McDonald's to celebrate after that service. And so anniversaries are big to me because they They celebrate longevity, and I think that's a key in ministry. There are legitimate reasons why a person leaves a church, especially on a vocation sort of manner. There are legitimate reasons. But for those of you that may have a bad day or a bad Sunday or a bad week, stick with it. Stick with it, because when you bail on that, and if that's what you want to do in life is be a vocational pastor, if you run to the next place, it's just a matter of time till the honeymoon's over and you're going to run into more troubles over there. Longevity is key, though, because people see your heart, they see where you're at, they see that you have a love for the community and things like that, and so it's very important to stick it through. You know, vocational ministry is not for everybody. I've had multi-million-dollar business owners tell me, Bob, I couldn't do what you do. And I'm like, I couldn't do what you do. Are you kidding me? But they said, no, seriously, I could not do what you do. Hearing people's problems, rejoicing with people, constantly being there and stuff. And so it is tough. It takes a certain type. It takes a special type of person, and maybe you're one of them, to be in ministry. But I would encourage you. You know, I've only been 2 places in 22 years, and I realize that breaks stereotypes and statistics for staff pastors, but that's kind of my dad's upbringing in my life, is that you stick with something. It's going to get tough, but you stick with something. And so I would encourage you, staff pastors, stick with it. What you're doing does go unnoticed. I'm going to say that. It does go unnoticed. But you know, and if you're married, your spouse knows, and if you have kids, your kid knows that you're doing the right thing. And when those big milestones hit, if nothing happens, take yourself out for ice cream. Go out for dinner. Do something along those ways to celebrate you. Because good for you, yay on you, for sticking with it and being the person God's called you to be in that body of believers that we call a church. Shoot me your thoughts, your questions here at pastorbobadams@gmail.com. I will get back to them in one of the upcoming podcasts.